Check it out. Hey, how's it going? I'm Paula. This is How to Make Dinner. Today we're making these insanely delicious, crispy, cheesy spinach and feta waffles. So I hope you'll stay with me. I was looking for savory waffle recipes recently for a waffle party, and I couldn't find any that I liked, so I made my own. These ones have feta in them and spinach, although today I'm using Swiss chard because that's what I had. And they're really easy and fun, and the feta does the most amazing thing. It gets like super melty inside and really crispy and salty and good on the outside. So, and I'm gonna be like looking down here to follow my recipe because it's brand new. I just invented it recently. So kicking things off, we're gonna put 2 eggs separated, so into 2 different bowls. So I'm gonna put the whites in a smaller bowl. And in case you're not huge on egg separating, and I just separate them in this kind of classic back and forth technique. And it's not too difficult. So we've got 2, for now I'm gonna just put the whites aside. Maybe I'll just put them over here. I'm just dealing with the yolks. So I'm gonna weigh all the wet ingredients into the bigger bowl. So I've got my yolks, turn on my scale here. If you still haven't bought a scale, you're missing out, because it means that I can weigh everything into the same bowl with very few dirty dishes. This is 1.5 cups of yogurt. Not Greek yogurt or anything, just normal yogurt. And if you did use Greek yogurt, I would probably thin it out a bit with some water, otherwise it'll just be too thick. And 80 grams of melted butter, that's the other thing. I'm gonna get a little whisk. I've let the butter cool a little bit because I don't want it to scramble the egg yolk. I'm just gonna drizzle it in. And now that we have all the wet ingredients together, we're gonna start weighing in the dry stuff. So the whole bowl goes on top of the scale, and all the full recipe, including the cup measurements, will be on howtomakedinner.com. I'll link to that. So sieve on top of the bowl, hitting 0 so that we're at square one. And then 1.5 cups of flour, which is the same as 180 grams, goes in. Oops, too much, no problem. Take it out of the sieve. 180. I'm really into savory versions of traditionally sweet things lately, like savory French toast, savory waffles. I have a Dutch baby recipe, a Dutch baby pancake on my blog, and I'm dying to make a savory version of it. Now this is 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. I do the little trick where I leave a bit of paper across the top so that I can use it to scrape and level the spoon. Hot tips. And then just a pinch of salt. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So I'm just gonna sift that in. I never wash these things because they're the worst pain in the butts. I usually just bang it a little bit and then put it back in the drawer. And then I'm just gonna bring this together. I'm using a whisk, but I'm not whisking. I'm just kind of using the whisk to stir it together because it's kind of faster and easier that way. And it's gonna be kind of thick. That's cool. We're just getting started. Now we have the base kind of mixture. We're gonna make it extra good. So I'm gonna add in feta. It's 150 grams of crumbled feta, and I use my favorite feta here is this Bulgarian style one. It's like milky and creamy and flavorful. It's not just like pure salt. Like sometimes you get feta and it's just like really salty. And we're putting in a lot. This is a very feta forward waffle. So we brought these to a waffle party the other day. If you haven't had a waffle party or been to one, I highly recommend it. It's so fun. You can get everyone to bring a topping, and everyone can bust out their old waffle makers that they probably haven't used in like a million years. Some of them are basically antiques. They're pretty cool. And then I actually just steamed this Swiss chard, spinach, kale, you can use whatever you want. It was about 5 really big leaves, which worked out to about 50 grams. So I steamed it lightly for about a minute just to cook it and make it really bright green. And then now I'm just chopping it. If you wanted these waffles to be super bright green, you could just really like pulverize the greens with a hand blender. That'd be pretty cool. I'm happy with little bits though. I like to see the bits. So that's as fine as I care to make it. And then I'm just gonna scooch it in. Okay. Last but not least is the egg whites. So they don't need to be like stiff peaks or anything. They just kind of need to be fluffy. And you know, I'd never take extra steps with things. Like usually I would just, you know, take the shortcut when I can, but waffles are the one thing that I really notice a difference whether you whip your egg whites or not. So this is an extra step that I think is really important. Can I just have a moment and speak about my total pet peeve of when people use these mixers and just like grind the side of the bowl? You really don't need to. You're supposed to be mixing the stuff inside the bowl, not the bowl itself. Like when you hear this, like what are you doing? Just literally just like don't do that. Doesn't need to touch the sides at all. Okay, so this is like light and fluffy, but not too crazy. It kind of helps to it mixes in a lot easier when it's not too crazy whipped. And then I'm just gonna scoop it in with my spatula. And then just kind of, you can use the spatula or the whisk to just kind of fold it all together. This is like one of those moments where you don't need to be super afraid of the egg whites. I know that Martha Stewart, or who is it, Martha Stewart, or one of the people I watched growing up on cooking shows, they say that egg whites can smell fear. It was probably Julia Child actually. Or they can sense fear. I'm kind of with them, like, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. So it's all folded together and it looks nice and fluffy, and all that's left is to throw some on our preheated waffle iron. I'm pretty sure this was my grandparents' waffle iron, and it's like older than me, which is ideal. You can use the round, like the more Belgian style one, just use what you've got. And I used this recently and I have a lot of butter in here, 80 grams of butter. So I think we're gonna be okay stickage wise, but if you're concerned about stickage, give it a little spray. And then I'm just gonna ladle on a big scoop. And maybe a little more. And then we're just gonna close it up and wait. I'm so excited. And I'll clean up while we're waiting for that. It's gonna be, you know, it'll tell you when it's done. It'll like beep or the light will go off or something. Okay, so we've been making waffles for a few minutes. Turns out this waffle machine is like seen better days. I'm not super stoked at how it's performing. I feel like it's working kind of slowly, and it comes out, the waffles that this one makes are quite slim and kind of, you know, flat. But hey, if you have any good waffle iron recommendations, shoot them my way. The only one I know that I like for sure is this all-clad one that I've used in the past. It's really cool. But we've got waffles, so I'm just going to check on this one. That one's gonna need some more time. So I'm just gonna serve one up for myself. I'm gonna have a half a one. And see how the cheese gets so crispy and the little waffly bits? And sometimes it spills out over the edge and you get those crispy bits. It's so good. So I'm using my favorite plate here. It's just like a modest waffle portion. And I decided to do up some tomatoes for a topping. These are so good plain, by the way, and you could definitely just make a little egg sandwich, breakfast sandwich kind of deal, or any kind of sandwich. Pulled pork or some kind of like barbecued meat sandwich between that. Oh my God. So I have these cherry tomatoes from the garden with thinly sliced garlic and a bit of rosemary and just some olive oil that I've just been kind of cooking lightly in the stove. So just thought that would make a nice little topper. Also, I'm just obsessed with tomatoes right now because it's that time of year. And because I'm me, I also poached an egg because I just feel like it makes everything better. A poached egg on top. Look at that. So that's how I'm gonna have my waffle. It's a pretty flexible, recipe system. You can do whatever you want. You can have these for dinner, have them for breakfast, have them for lunch. You can make them ahead and re-toast them in the toaster, which is, oh, what am I doing? Gotta get the good salt on this stuff. Malden sea salt. It's the best. And I'm gonna have a bite. So let's see. Gooey yolk, bit of waff, bit of tomato. Blah. This is gonna be a messy bite. I don't like this. You guys ever eat on YouTube? It's kind of nerve-wracking. These waffles are so good. Amazing. So, I hope you make these waffles. I think you'll really like them. Get a better waffle iron than what I have. This has been on there for like 10 minutes now. Yeah, so that's it. I hope you liked this episode. If you did like this episode, feel free to hit the like button and tell me about it in the comments. And if you like my channel, feel free to subscribe. And let me know if you have any requests. And I'll see you next time. Crispy little bits of cheese. Need I say more?